Welcome to the Amusement Park Metabolism, where glucose and other vital nutrients, they're the guests. Sounds fun, right? Well, buckle up, because this ride can get real sketchy, real fast. Before we explore, let's take an overview of what keeps the park running smoothly. You know, how park management keeps things in order. At the park entrance booth, they monitor the guest traffic level, they see how many glucose guests are currently inside. Management also has to consider the long-term operation of the park. Over time, the park can begin to show signs of wear and tear. Some chipped paint, scuffed walkways, some rusty rails. It's in constant need of maintenance and upkeep. And so, while hanging out in the park, glucose is like a group of mischievous teenagers, and it's responsible for a majority of the wear and tear. And the park management, they need to track the overall wear and tear caused by all these energetic glucose guests. They have a special way of measuring how much glucose has been hanging around over the past few months. They count up all the scuff marks and rusted rails, and then they call this number the A1C. They check it about every 3 months to make sure the park stays in good working order. So with that out of the way, let's get back to our day in the park. Imagine one of the rides is a roller coaster called the Energy Express. The theme of this ride is moving nutrients like glucose from your bloodstream into your cells for energy and other metabolic processes. The line for this one is usually pretty full. A staff member there counts the guests currently in the immediate queuing area and reports back to management. Unfortunately, this count doesn't include the guests already on the ride, nor the guests outside the queuing station altogether. This ride has a fast pass lane as well. Insulin, it's an expensive VIP fast pass that can get glucose quickly through the lines and into the rides so that each molecule can have the best day at the park possible. And luckily, glucose has brought with it insulin, the fast pass ticket. It allows glucose to skip the main line and enter the VIP queue right up front. Now, imagine if something happens and the ride starts slowing down. Boarding times for the ride are beginning to take a little bit longer. The main queuing line begins to grow longer than its intended capacity. The ride is getting crowded and the guests are becoming upset. And around that moment, there's a veteran park staff member who slowly shakes their head and quietly mumbles, "You know, if we just focused more on our stress management land and really promoted the sleep hygiene show a little better, that fast pass system probably would work better." But their voice is drowned out by a panic of the overworked managers who issue more VIP passes to keep things moving. But it's a band-aid fix, since the rides aren't working like they used to and the park is already crowded. The fast pass line is becoming almost as long as the main line itself. They keep handing out more of the fast passes instead of addressing the root cause. Meanwhile, the ticket counter, they only see what's in line. How many patrons can fit in the queue hasn't changed, so for now, things look normal. It is difficult for the ride operators to tell that the park is in trouble. Over time, all those extra glucose guests start leaving their mark. More wear and tear, more corrosion, A1C starts creeping up, even though the turnstile blood sugar check still seems fine. Eventually, the park reaches a crisis point. The rides are completely jammed. The VIP passes aren't working anymore and the lines, they're out of control. Suddenly, a ticket counter notices that the lines have extended far beyond the queue and are weaving throughout the whole park. Blood sugar readings spike and seemingly overnight, this happy amusement park goes from normal to a diabetic mess. The reality is, over time, the park's systems haven't been properly maintained to handle the constant influx of glucose. Management could have tried properly to maintain the rides. They could have employed more workers to regularly clean up all the wear and tear on the main concourse. Unfortunately, this isn't necessarily about bad management, but more about the natural limitations of the system when it's constantly overloaded. The problem, it's been building for years. So glucose finally gets its turn on the Energy Express and has a thrilling ride. But what happens after the ride? Let's head over to the exit area of the Energy Express. This is where the park tries to utilize the energy that the guests get from riding the ride. You see, when the guests get off the ride, the exit area recreates the look of a cell in a human body. Here the guests can spend away all the energy from the excitement of the ride. This place is complete with a gift shop, a booth to purchase ride photos with their exhilarated faces, a penny cranking machine that flattens it to a medallion with the logo of the ride. Management has thought of many ways to encourage the guests to spend away and help keep the park running smoothly. Glucose is usually a big spender in this part of the park. The more the park management can extract from glucose here at the ride exit, the less danger it can do in other parts of the park. They try to keep the exit area well stocked and attractive. Then, they can entice glucose to overspend in that ride exit area. Glucose will basically disappear and ease the overcrowding so the park can keep running smoothly. But lately, the exit zone, it's become a little run down and it's less effective at utilizing the guest's energy. The gift shop is selling last year's swag, the ride photos are low resolution and barely in focus, and the penny machine, it just isn't pressing as hard as it used to. The park is in trouble, and management is freaking out. The worst part is that this is something they knew could be a problem. In a previous season's report, an independent consultant reported that by simply reducing the number of glucose molecules or getting them to efficiently spend more in the park, they could prevent the overcrowding and ultimately even repair a lot of the wear and tear. Management could keep the Fast Pass line and the rest of the park moving smoothly. Yet, instead of the proactive approach and constant improvement, they waited until the problem was visible, and by then it was almost too late. So what if the voice of that veteran park employee had been heard sooner? What if more emphasis on stress reduction and sleep hygiene was the focus? What if the park had more rides to help reduce the burden of the glucose guest? What if the exit area of the Energy Express had better upkeep and got those glucose gangs out of there and it could do it faster? Now let's step outside the park for a moment and see what all of this really means. Because this is not an amusement park, it's your body. Time for facts. The ride, yeah, it's metabolism, but more concretely, it's vital nutrients being transported through your bloodstream. Glucose really is glucose and insulin really is insulin, but the queuing line, that's your digestive system breaking down the food that you eat and then trying to figure out just where everything should go. Those extra fast passes, it's like your pancreas, and it produces extra insulin trying to keep up with the high level of glucose in the bloodstream. It'll keep making more until eventually the cells stop allowing the insulin to let glucose in, and it just stays in the bloodstream. The pancreas will still keep trying to make more, but it just won't work the same. Eventually it'll burn out. And the right exit? That's the end point. It's your cells, and they're trying to make heads or tails of all the things the bloodstream is passing their way. It's a tough job, but they've developed some pretty cool mechanisms to make it work. You see, muscle cells, when they're being used and fully developed, they can clean out glucose like nobody's business. But the other cells like fat, adipose cells, bone cells, even skin cells, they just deny glucose entrance when they've had enough. They don't even let glucose into the exit area, so it takes way longer for glucose to give its energy back to the body. And so that's the quick and dirty of insulin resistance. So what if you catch a problem early? What if you focus on increasing muscle mass and make the exit area way more enticing? You could literally reverse the damage before the park shuts down for good. So next time you think about skipping movement, letting too much stress build up without some active release, or simply ignoring your nutrition, just remember, your body's amusement park is always open, but how well it runs, that's up to you. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe. I'll be making more if you like some science-backed insights. And let me know in the comments what you're doing to keep your park clean. And please don't leave your metabolic park in ruins. Take action today. Thanks for watching.